Very well. Welcome to our third installment of our podcast. Today we're gonna discuss the Kawhi saga, the Black Ariel, and Coco Gauff. Not to be confused with Coco Tennis. That's not a real person. I just play on words. But anyways, so the Kawhi Hall. I wanted to talk about, or I could lead the discussion, but the I don't know the stealthiness in which he operated. I mean, what are you more impressed with? Just that he was able to keep everything silent within his camp, or that he picked the Clippers over the Raptors and the Lakers?
Yeah, I'm not impressed by anything at all. I was impressed by the way he did it. The fact that he knew where he wanted to go in the first place, but still kept the other teams on the hook. It seems like he intentionally wanted to make the Lakers not pick anybody else.
Yeah.
Which I mean, that might be a little bit more of a conspiracy than anything. But I don't know. I just felt like it was just Kawhi being Kawhi, man. Just kind of just doing everything the way he wanted to do it without thinking of anybody else in the situation. I think it was
Mm-hmm.
more of Jerry West, by the way, making those moves happen.
Mm-hmm.
Less Kawhi. Uh, also think like the league is a copycat league, man, where like people are convinced that Kawhi is like the best thing on the planet right now. Uh, I think we're being tricked because he's been on two good teams. So we've kind of equated that to him being great. When if we dig deeper, we can see that when he won Finals MVP, it was kind of like when Andre Iguodala won Finals MVP. He was not. He was like a fourth option on that San Antonio team, right? So Kawhi is good. Don't get me wrong, but I think the way people were just kind of following him along was kind of ridiculous, and I think he's got a lot of power from being on really good teams, and I just don't think I don't think he handled that well at all. I wasn't impressed. I wasn't impressed.
You're a Spurs fan though,
I
right? I
am a Spurs
mean,
fan.
that's
Yeah. Full
okay.
disclosure.
Well,
Yeah.
there's the
Full dis-
bias. The
Yeah,
bias.
I'm a
All
Spurs
yeah.
right, all right.
Definitely.
What were you thinking, Kelly? Well, like you're just impressed by the stealthness in which he operated, the fact that he picked the Clippers over the Raptors and the Lakers. I mean, what were your thoughts? I guess in general.
No, I was impressed. I feel like when he took control of the whole scenario. He took control. He told the teams which teams he wanted to meet with. He told them when he was going to meet with them. He didn't rush the decision, and he wanted to see how everything was going to play out. And he was able to get the Clippers to make a deal that on paper it makes them like a championship contender, but they gave up so much. 5 first round draft picks and 2 players. One, a player that everybody's like is a rising star as well, with Charles
Mm-hmm.
Alexander. And
Mm-hmm.
so I feel like he had that much power to make it seem like I want Paul George, and you guys got to do whatever it takes to get him, or I'm walking. I'm not coming with you guys. I'm going to sign the Raptors. And so I feel like him having that much power, taking control, especially like he's working through his uncle Dennis, who has no experience whatsoever as a GM, as an agent, as doing anything. And they're able to keep everything in the wraps. Like no one saw this move coming. No one. Everybody said, "Oh, Clippers were out a week ago." Broussard had, I guess what the revelation, or he broke news that the Clippers were out of discussion, and so he's probably feeling kind of
Right.
salty right now.
Almost
So,
there.
but yeah, yeah, and then he ended up signing with Clippers. So I feel like the way he handled things, the selfness, right? The way they said that he met with the Lakers, and right after he met with Lakers, he met with Paul George. So he was probably screwing them over this whole time, and no
Mm-hmm.
one knew it, and everybody kept it under wraps, and everybody he was talking to kept it under wraps. So I think like it was genius, and even if Kawhi is not as good, kind of the downside, he's not as good as he is, and he's just been on great teams. He's managed to put himself in great teams every single time. As 3 teams, he's managed to uh, put himself on that are great. And so he's always going to be competing for a championship every single year. And if you like a person with no experience and agent with no experience being able to maneuver like that, I feel like that's genius. Like now everybody's like, him and LeBron and AD, they have the same odds of winning the championship right now, according to Vegas. So For people
Just
that
like,
supposedly don't know what they're doing, it looks like they do know what they're doing.
but that's like, I don't know, the fact that people think he has the same odds to win like LeBron and AD, I think is just again a sign of how this league everyone just kind of follows the leader, right? Because again, Kawhi has been on 3 teams, but on 2 of them he really had no choice. Right? He was drafted by the Pacers, traded to San Antonio, and then San Antonio sent him over to Toronto, right? So and then Toronto, which everyone forgot that they had like the best record in the East the year before, right? And they still pretty much had that same team, just with a better player. They traded DeMar DeRozan for Kawhi. So yeah, so
Mhm.
I mean, it worked out in his favor, and also he went into the finals, right, over a lucky bounce against Philadelphia, who took him to 7 games, right? A win is a win, sure, whatever, but and then Milwaukee choked, but it's in the end, I mean, I think um, that the Lakers team, again, people have forgotten how good Boogie Cousins is. Boogie is. So, we're all thinking that he's gonna do well. No one is looking at Kyle Kuzma, and who is a rising star himself. But then you look at the Clippers, other than Kawhi and Paul George, who, by the way, Paul George has proven nothing. Like in the last 2 playoffs, he's come up empty. But for some reason, everyone has all this faith in the dude. I don't know if it was just me, but really though, playoff P, I haven't seen him. Like last year, they get beat by Utah 2 years ago, 3-1. In the final game, he has to score like 3 points
Mhm.
compared to like
Mhm.
Russell's like 47. He completely came out small in the series against the Blazers. So
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I don't know why people think he's like this hot stuff because in the playoffs he hasn't really proven it. And
Mhm.
then who else do they have? They don't have anybody else. They have Montrezl Harrell, Patrick Beverly.
Mhm.
They have
I
Lou
gotta
Williams. They got the
Yeah,
six
I
man.
guess yeah, Lug 6 man.
They got
Yeah,
a few, but it's their depth that's really making them seem like they have enough depth. So they got the stars and they got the depth more than anybody else. Like Lakers, their depth is not really that good. They're all aging players who can't run full court. They're not going to be able to keep up a high pace. If you put 3 bigs out there, like they're not going to be able to keep up with a high pace. Especially like now that LeBron doesn't play defense, like he doesn't play defense. Like you're gonna have to rely on Boogie Cousins and Anthony Davis, people who are Anthony Davis plays really good defense, but you're gonna have to rely on them heavily to play defense because LeBron doesn't play anymore. That's why. But at Clippers, you got all these young dogs. You got all this depth, and you got so much skill you can throw at them. And you got to look at the coach too. LeBron is gonna be the coach for the Lakers because I'm pretty sure they're
yeah.
not gonna listen to whatever.
And of course, I respect that because he brought my Celtics championship, but that team also only won once, right? So the Celtics only won once, and that team should have won at least twice. And he had
Mhm.
He had what was the guy? Chris Paul,
Paul Pierce. Oh, Chris
Blake.
Paul. Yeah.
He had Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, at their height, and those guys couldn't even get to the Western Conference Finals.
Mhm.
Right? Like that is, so this guy has coached stars
Mhm.
and has gone nowhere. Right? So I mean, again, Doc is a great coach. I'm not even gonna pretend that he's not. But he's the only
Mhm.
coach that has lost twice with his team being up 3-1, has lost the other lead.
Oh, I didn't know that. I
Yeah,
didn't
that's
know
a
that.
fun fact.
Yeah. So,
So
so one
yeah,
thing I want to like, I think just to put it back on Kawhi though. I mean, I think like just the respect that he's so like from just the fans because now people talk about parity. Now there's parity. Like, if he would have went to the Lakers, is there any guessing who's going to win the championship next year? I don't think so. Right. So like now that he's gone to Clippers, who are your favorites? My favorites, just run them down quick. Not favorites, but like people who can legit like the Jazz. It's bar like if, like because the thing is, how the season works out, like there's injuries and such. But the Jazz, there's the Bucks, there's the Sixers, the Lakers, the Clippers, the probably not so much the Celtics, not the Nets, but that's like 5 teams so far, and I'm sure I'm missing a few teams. that like
There's
legit
Houston.
Rockets. If yeah, right. So like
And
that's
San
like 16
Antonio,
just off.
man.
That's just off the top. Yeah, San Antonio, you can never count them out.
Yeah,
Right? Because the thing is, DeJounte Murray's coming back.
he's
I think
coming back.
LaMarcus
Yep,
Aldridge is still there. So the
yep.
thing is, here's the thing. Here's my thing. Right? In pop, he always finds like a hidden gem in the draft. Right? Like Derek White was pretty nice. Right?
And Lonnie Walker's coming back too. So
right. So the thing is, we can never count out the Spurs. So what I'm saying is, he evened it out. Right? So the thing is, like for the fans, like he did us a favor. Like for now, we're gonna feel like watching the regular season. Whereas before, it was like, okay, I didn't really care unless LeBron was on or the Golden State was on. Then, or if you have a favorite team, you just watch them, but you didn't really care to watch the regular season. But now you feel like you have a legitimate shot, right? So for the fans' perspective, the players' perspective is like, dude, the fact that he was able to move and not talk to anybody, like not have anything leak out, he just kept everything under wraps. And then like to get Paul George as well. I'm thinking like players are like, man, how does this guy do this? You know, like he did like whereas go ahead.
no, it's only because it's like that really pretty girl, right? Who like she leads you on, right? She makes you think, oh, you're gonna go on this date. She never really commits, but she gives you enough interest that like you don't want to mess it up, right? So she gives you a call, you pick up the phone, she texts you, respond. She does all these things where she's never really going to commit to you, but she makes it look like she's going to commit. So then you are always trying to like not be the one that messed up the opportunity. I think that's what happened with Kawhi, man. I think he was like this hot chick that was given enough commitment that teams didn't want to jeopardize it by leaking information, right? So they were all kind of, which to me it's like, yeah, whatever, man. It's like, in the end, it only works if you actually believe the girl, right? If it only works if you actually value whatever potential future relationship you can have, and he manipulated really well. Which I think Kawhi's like a number one manipulator, man. He's good at like.
Well, I think how was it though? Like I don't think he let anybody on. He was like, hey, I want to meet with the teams I was legit interested in. So the Raptors, he gave him a shot. But he's like, he ultimately, the thing is, this is another point I had. Like, we have to realize that these people are human beings, right? So with Kevin Durant, when he left OKC, he left because, I mean, I think we can agree that it was like, man, basically the franchise or the team picked Westbrook over him.
I don't
they weren't like he would talk to the coach, he talked to the managers, and they wouldn't talk to Westbrook enough. So he's like, okay, peace out, I'm gone, sort of thing, right? So that's his story. I mean, whether it's true or not, that's it. So he's like, okay, once I win a championship, it's gonna solidify my legacy. He won 2 championships, and now we're having leaks coming out, and I'm sure you two have heard about this, where him and Draymond, and obviously we've seen that, where him and Draymond didn't really get along that well. They've had spats on the court. He didn't even like Steve Kerr that much. And then outside of the off the court, Curry didn't really hang out, right? Like so, him and Curry is like it was more so like a business friendship relationship as opposed to like a genuine relationship. So he won the championships. He still wasn't satisfied. So now he's running over to Brooklyn, just like he's like chasing something, right? And then we're looking at Kawhi, like oh yeah, he could like basically be like the face of Canada sports. But the thing is, he's like, dude, I want to live in LA. That's where I'm from. He has a kid. He has a girlfriend. So he's like, dude, I want to live in LA. And I think that's one thing we have to take into account, that these people are actual human beings that need something that they're striving after, right? And I think that basically that's what happened with Kawhi. Like he knew he was going to be in LA, but he didn't. He like basically ended 2 dynasties. He ended the Heat dynasty.
He didn't end the Heat dynasty. San Antonio ended the Heat dynasty. He happened to be a player on that team. Let's not.
I don't know. You can say happy.
Yo, he happened. Yo, Kawhi averaged like 8 points. He averaged like 8 points that whole series. Like again, man, let's not.
It was 16, but it was 16. It wasn't 8 points.
Yeah, 16. All right, 16 points. I mean, still.
But he slowed down LeBron though, man. You can't deny that. So that's the thing. Like the same thing with Iggy. Iggy has slowed down LeBron enough to where there's like, okay, we're gonna give you the NBA
can we say
or the finals
was
MVP.
the one that stopped LeBron from winning, or was it Golden State that stopped LeBron from winning?
I mean, you're not gonna get.
It wasn't Iggy. Like in the end, it was not Kawhi. It was San Antonio. So maybe he stopped one dynasty, but in the end, that wasn't really a dynasty because they were only winning 2 games, and you can't really stop a dynasty if the two of the 3 best players are not playing.
Oh, what's it going to say?
Yeah, Kevin Durant wasn't playing, and Clay
Well,
wasn't.
I mean, the thing is, like, we get the thing is that's just life. That's life in general, and especially sports. There's always these if games, right? Because the thing is, if Kawhi didn't get hurt 2 years ago, then Golden State probably wouldn't have won in 2017 in
I'll give you
Durant's
this.
first year.
I'll give Kawhi ending the Golden State dynasty. Sure, we can start on that. But San Antonio ended the Heat dynasty. It wasn't Kawhi. I'm sorry. Tim Duncan managing Noble and Tony Parker was so much more important in that series.
Right. So I'm thinking, but going back to Kawhi though, I think like as far as his legacy is concerned, he has the potential of making New Balance and the Clippers relevant, right? So the Clippers have always been the little brother to the Lakers, and like nobody's rocking Clippers gear. I've never seen in my life seen somebody rocking Clippers gear, but he made it cool. At least in the urban community, I don't see people rocking New Balances, and obviously we could debate whether or not he ended a dynasty, but he has a potential of starting a dynasty with the Clippers because he saw a long-term commitment. Another thing he started, no, he didn't really start, but something he did, and he wasn't really hurt. I mean, I don't know. I can't really question somebody whether they're hurt or not, but the whole load management thing. Remember, I don't know if you two heard, he said, if the Raptors didn't let me take as many games off as I did, I wouldn't be playing right now. So that so the thing is like now we're gonna have a lot of players that's gonna do this thing where they're doing load management, right? And now what's the league gonna have to do? It's gonna change. I sincerely believe that they're gonna have to limit, like they're gonna have to trim down the games from 82 down to 65 or something like that. I don't know, but I think we're gonna start noticing a change there because players are gonna start doing more of load management, quote unquote. So I think Kawhi is gonna. He's gotten the respect of a lot of front office execs, but because I've heard that a lot of them have been upset with LeBron playing this bully ball, like trying to work his AD over to the Lakers, and obviously what he did in Cleveland when he got Love, or obviously Kyrie was already there, and then how he got Bosh over to the Heat. But the thing is, like people, it sounds like the front office execs are tired of him. I'm sure players. Like the thing is, you have to think about it too. Like Paul George chose Westbrook over LeBron. What's his name? DeMarcus Cousins last year he chose Golden State over LeBron. Kawhi is choosing the Clippers.
Where did that end up?
Well, yeah, no, I agree. No, I agree. So the thing is, but I think we have to start questioning, like, is LeBron losing the respect of like the league as a whole, not just the front office execs, but like players as well, like. Because the thing is, you know what happens once you play with LeBron. If you're like a all-star at any point, then it's like it's your fault if they lose. But if the team wins, it's because of LeBron. So I think that's something that one thing we're seeing with Kawhi. He's like leaving I think he's making like a really good name for himself across all fronts with fans, because now there's more parity in the league. Front office execs, because now they feel like they're getting more control of the NBA again. Players, I mean, and I'll just end on that. But I'm curious to know, because before we jump into another topic, what does this say about Russell Westbrook? Because this came out of nowhere that Paul George all of a sudden like asked for a trade, and then that was surprising that even stayed silent. And then like so he's running away from Westbrook in a sense as well. I'm like, what do you two make of that?
Well, I think like it was so Paul George, like he had the decision just a year ago. So I don't think he was that. I think Kawhi Leonard presented him something and he saw a better opportunity and he just ran with it. Because they also said he was open to going to Toronto. It was going to be him and Westbrook both cornered Toronto, being able to play with Kawhi Leonard, and Thunder were going to get Pascal Siakam. And Paul George okayed that trade, but Toronto said no, which is funny because they ended up losing everyone. I mean, they ended up losing opportunity on the Thursday. So I don't think, and he even, if you saw his Twitter, he said, I don't want to see no Russell Westbrook bashing. Right. He tweeted out. And so he said, I don't think it was because of Russell Westbrook. I think he just got a beautiful opportunity presented to him where he was just like, I get to play with Kawhi Leonard. You know, he's the MVP of the finals. I'm going to be in LA, all these things. And I still get my money. That's the thing that people don't realize, that if he would have went to the Lakers the year before, he wouldn't have got as much money. but now he's going to LA for making more money than he would before. And so I feel like all those things go into it. So Kawhi presented him a great deal, and I think he jumped on it. Just like he would have jumped on it in Toronto, he jumped on LA. So I don't think it's all Russell Westbrook's fault. I think it was like Thunder were in a position where they're just like, they had to do something because they're paying Russell Westbrook a massive amount. Like that $225 million contract is any player that gets that team is going to be all over luxury tax, like for the next 4 or 5 years. And so just to keep your players. And so I feel like, Kawhi gave him a good deal and he took it. I don't think it has anything to do with Russell Westbrook per se, because he chose Russell Westbrook after playing with him for a year. So he got more touches his second year than he did his first year. So I don't think there was anything that had to do with Russell Westbrook or anything Russell Westbrook could have done better this year.
Yeah, I completely agree because I think, first of all, the whole idea that like Kevin Durant was running away from Russell Westbrook, I think is a big myth that the media likes to promote because, you know, they like to sell controversy. Because in the end, we see what happens with Kevin Durant in Golden State. The dude just seems to be unhappy wherever he goes. It didn't matter whether he was with Russ or whether he was with Golden State or like Steph Curry or Draymond. He just seems to be an unhappy dude wherever he goes, satisfied. So, and I think Paul George choosing to stay with Russ validated Russ. And the fact that even as he's leaving now, it's all love between them and it's all positive. In the end, I think Russell Westbrook, he's like one of my favorite players. He's like top 3 of mine. He's always going to be a lone wolf, right? Because he's very independent and confident. He does whatever he wants to do. He's been very successful. He's come from like very slim odds. Even slimmer, I'll say, than a LeBron because, well, I guess actually that's comparative because he did have a father. But he was short, right? He was a small guy, and he was small for a long time before he grew, right? So I think, so he knows how much he's accomplished. So I think that's why it makes it hard for people to play with him sometimes because Russ is just going to be Russ. Brody is going to be Brody, and he's just going to do whatever he wants to do. I don't think it makes him look bad. I think the media will try and spin some story about, is it hard to play with Russ and all this stuff. But in the end, it just didn't work out. Like Kelly said, Paul George had a great opportunity. He had to go. And Russ is just going to, Russ will probably get traded. I think that's a smart thing to do. Trade Russ out, and OKC just rebuilds from scratch. But I do want to say something, though, about before. I don't know if we're allowed to bet here or want to bet. But I don't think anything significant is going to happen with Kawhi going to the Clippers, and I'll be more than happy to place a bet on that. That next year, or in 2 years, or in 3 years, there will be no dynasty in the Clippers. They'll just be a good competitive team like they were with Chris Paul, DeAndre Jordan, and Blake. They'll be better, of course, but only because they have. Again, Kawhi, because again, Paul George hasn't shown us anything in the playoffs. I think it's a lot of hype around it because people are being prisoners of the moment. We have a lot of recency bias. So we saw what happened in Toronto, forgetting that they almost didn't make it through, that it wasn't easy, right? Like, it wasn't easy to go to Golden State, which was depleted, right? And because of that, everyone thinks Kawhi is legit the best player on the planet. And I think next year, when LeBron comes back in full strength, with an AD who's in full strength, everyone reminded again who the best players actually are. So I've been willing to put anything down right now. That like nothing changes for Kawhi. No one is gonna buy New Balance. No one's gonna wear Clippers jerseys. Right? Like LA is still gonna be LA. It's still gonna be purple and gold. And like nothing. I think it's all hype right now. I think it's all hype. I didn't think anything's gonna change.
I would say that like Clippers are gonna be a beast. Like they made a playoffs with literally no All-Star, not one. Not only did they make the playoffs with no All-Star, they made it with no one that ever was an All-Star on their team. No one that was on that team was ever an All-Star before when they made the playoffs. and they still found ways to win games. They got kicked out the first round, and so now that they have two people who have been all stars, and last year Paul George was top three in MVP and top three in Defensive Player of the Year, and you add Kawhi, those two players, like there's no way they can be trash. And you got Doc Rivers. I don't feel like there's no way they can be trash. Like you add that talent to this team, that team that already didn't have, like there's no way they can be trash. I think a lot of people are gonna buy in. New Balances, like they're doing something out there, and they got Kawhi Leonard, so they're gonna be doing something. Just like Puma. Puma has come up real quick in the NBA, and like overnight, and all it took was just, and they didn't even sign any really big players. They signed DeMarcus Cousins and Danny Green, and they're already like people are already rocking those shoes.
Yeah, man,
So
yeah, they sound like Rudy Gay too, and DeAndre Ayton, who are, you're right, they kind of, not as big. Okay,
right.
so
Two games.
what do you want to put on it, Kelly? I know like Skip and Shannon, they do like Mount Dew, but what do you want to put on it? Because and we'll check back in a year, and we have to also formalize this bet, right? So it's not all over the place. I don't think. All right, maybe Western Conference champions. What do you say?
Yeah, I can see them going to the Western Conference and losing. So, or
I mean, who do you think is going to be the Western Conference champion next season?
that is so hard because like Utah looks really good. Houston still could be really good. Like Clippers look really good, and LeBron, the Lakers, I just feel like they don't have no depth. To be honest with you, and especially since they have like a lot of players coming off injury, I just feel like they don't have a depth, and so I feel like they can go really far. But I feel like as a complete team can beat them in a 7-game series. So I feel like when they're going to be playing all these complete teams in a 7-game series, it's going to be really hard. So it's hard for me to say like a clear favorite.
Because I think
Lakers.
because I think if with the way they're being hyped, if they don't win the Western Conference final, I think it's a failure. Because like the way people are, again, I mean, like Jeff out here talking about Kawhi creating this new dynasty, and everybody wearing Clippers jerseys. I mean, that's if that happens, man, he has to win the Western Conference Finals at least. So I think, you know what, I'll make, I'll make it bold. I'll say they won't even get to the Western Conference Finals. Would you take that bet? But I mean, no, actually, but that's one way. That's a one-way bet.
I'll take that bet. I think they'll make the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think they're gonna make Western Conference Finals.
Well, let's well, I think we could pick that like when we get close to the season, when we make our preseason predictions as far as like who we're gonna think who because the thing is we still have to wait to see the signings and trades because Russell Westbrook could be traded any moment. I'm curious to know real quick before we switch topics because we've been on this for the last 30 minutes just about where do you think Russell Westbrook goes? Because I think we're in agreement that he has to be moved, right? Because they're just gonna blow it up. My pick is the Knicks because the Knicks is there's just a lightning rod for disaster, and they probably just need to excite the fans after missing out on KD and Kyrie and AD. But I just think it's gonna be the Knicks. They have the cap for it, and they just need to make some moves. And he's into fashion, right? So the media capital of the world will probably be good for him. And I think that'd be exciting for the league, right? Because the Knicks are like I don't care to watch the Knicks at all. RJ Barrett looked trash in his first summer league game. It's a summer league, right? But was that?
Look good.
No, he doesn't.
Look good
He doesn't. Right, and he just by listening to different, and just by listening to different draft analysts, his game won't project well into the NBA. So if he's looking this bad in a summer league, again, it's this summer league. I remember Trae Young didn't look too good in his first summer league game, and I think he was runner up to what was it, the rookie of the year. But RJ Barrett, I just don't see doing so hot. So if Russ went there, I think it'd be good for the league because I don't care to watch OKC unless. No, I really don't care to watch them. But I think the Knicks probably is my bet. I mean, where do you two think? And then we could make it super quick so we can move on.
I was hoping.
I feel like when it comes to, go ahead.
Sorry, I was hoping the Lakers. Because I've always wanted to see Russ play with LeBron. I always think that'd be an amazing pair. But I think I agree with you. I think it's probably gonna be the Knicks.
It'll be New York or Heat. The thing about it, Russ, is like matching his salary cap. He has that huge salary cap, so it's going to be almost $40 million. And so whatever team he goes to has to give up a bunch of players and a bunch of draft picks. And so I feel like Miami, I don't think it still has all their draft picks, but I think Knicks have all theirs. So I think Knicks could build the better package, but Heat probably have more players on bigger contracts that they can trade over to OKC. So it'll be interesting, but it will be interesting to see if OKC wants to take those deals, if they take those expiring deals on like 2 or 3 draft picks. Because right now, like OKC, if they can get like 2 to 3 draft picks from the Heat, that would give them 8 draft picks from other teams, and they'll have all their draft picks. And so like they would be for the next 2 to 3 years, they'll have 3 first rounders every single year. So that's a real good team.
Yeah, I see your point, Kelly. My thing is, I feel like these draft picks are going to start getting devalued over the years. Because what I'm starting to see is like, and I think I talked about it both with you on an individual basis, but a lot of times when you look at a draft, like only 2 or 3 players like really pan out, like do some major work. And I'm just thinking about, look at the haul that the Celtics pulled out by trading their big three. I guess it was not the big three at that time because they traded KG and Paul Pierce to the Nets, and people talked about how Danny Ainge fleeced the Nets. But what came of it? It's been almost 10 years since, but no championship has come of it. And people are talking about how the Pelicans fleeced the Lakers. But I mean,
Kyrie Irving were part of those
that?
draft picks. They got Kyrie Irving were part of those draft picks.
Oh, right. But I mean, did the championship come of it? I mean, relevance in championship. Because the thing is, in Boston, it's like it's championship or bust, right? I mean, you have the most, was it 18 championships, Donald? So the thing is, like, yeah, I mean, it's cool to be relevant, but it's all about championships. It's one thing if we're talking about Utah, and they're like, oh yeah, we're relevant, right? But the thing is, no, Boston wants championships. So the people talk about the Pelicans, like, man, they got all these picks. Now, I mean, I think you two have heard, there's gonna come a time where I think starting as soon as next year, like almost like NBA or high school players can like enter into the draft, at least just put their name out there. So like they don't even have to go the college route. So now you're getting like 17, 18-year-old kids again into the draft. And outside of LeBron and Dwight Howard, I mean, I'm sure a couple of others, KG, like it doesn't really happen where people are or like players are contributing. If anything, it's setting them back. So my point is, yeah, we could talk about draft picks, but I feel like they're gonna get devalued over the years. So we're gonna see what the Pelicans do 5 years from now when we revisit it, and the OKC, what happens with all their draft picks. But I think it's not that big of a deal. Like Zion, he's like the biggest name, and we'll see what happens with him like 2 to 3 years from now. But this is my opinion. I just think if right now, I think we're starting to see the formula to win. Like Toronto has shown it. Like, hey, let's just win now. LeBron showed it by like creating super teams in both Cleveland and Miami, and then we'll see what happens with the Clippers. But the Clippers are like, yeah, we don't care about these draft picks, dude. Let's just go for it right now, sort of thing. But
right, I feel like draft picks are still going to be important because if you look at it, Indiana Pacers drafted both Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Like we're talking about their super team. Like Pacers drafted these players, but they didn't hold on to them. So it's kind of like the drafting and keeping players is going to be hard because when they're up to the max now and the max is so high, it's going to be hard to keep all of them if you have a whole bunch of picks. So I feel like that could limit draft picks, but drafting is still, if you do it right, like small market teams is their way of becoming relevant. Like OKC drafted Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden 3 in a row. Like these teams are drafting really good players that they're doing good work, especially small market teams. It's just that they haven't been able to keep them because it's been like their fault of their own. Like OKC traded James Harden to save a couple $1 million.
Right. No, I got you. Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think you put yourself on hold, Kelly, because okay, there you are. Yeah, I think you had to cut off for a second, but okay, cool. Okay, so I think that was a real good discussion. We went like 30 minutes on that. So next one is Black Ariel. So it sounds like there's been some controversy behind that, but I mean, curious to know what were your initial thoughts when that went down, when the announcement was made this week.
Sir, what was the question?
Oh yeah, what were your initial thoughts when the announcement was made that Ariel was going to be black, basically?
Dude, my thing was, all right, cool. Like, who cares, man? Yeah, like, that's like cool. Like, I mean, in the end, you know, it's not like Disney is out here like, oh man, how are we gonna help change the narrative and help, uh, inclusion or representation? They don't. They were like, can we still make a bunch of money off this? I bet. Like that's it. It's still a star. Like I think no, like the idea of like reimagining some of these stories with people of like different ethnicities. Again, it's not a big deal, man. Like these stories are fables. These are not based on real life. Like anyone can act anything. At first, when America was a mostly white country, it made sense that people would put the people in the stories that look just like them. Especially since most of these stories were European stories. These are like European fairy tales. So when you imagine a European fairy tale, you imagine a European playing the role of the person. Now it's like, all right, cool. We can actually switch it up a bit and kind of change the origin story a little bit. All right, that's cool. Let's do it. It's not a big deal. All right, it's like it's cool. It's gonna happen, and again, it's Hollywood. They're gonna make their billions or hundreds of millions, and life keeps going. I mean, it's not like it's not like they decided to sell off the IP of the Little Mermaid to a black like studio, and then have them make it and make a bunch of money off it. It's still Disney making a bunch of money, and they just hired an actress. So I don't know, I just think that these things don't have as much of a relevancy as we try and put on them.
Yeah, I feel like Disney, they were trying to make a big splash, especially when they're doing a real for all the big moves that they put out. They made a big splash in the character they've announced, and so I think having a black Ariel, something that they wanted something fresh, and especially I was surprised by the controversy because it's supposed to be a mermaid from Atlantis, where Atlantis is supposed to be in a Caribbean island. And so they were shocked that they cast a black woman. So I thought that was kind of funny. But there's always going to be controversy. People are not going to like who's cast as certain people. People don't like who's cast as the new Batman. People can't see it. People are always going to hate on it. People want characters that look like them. So there's definitely going to be people that are going to be mad when a character that has traditionally, that even though it's fake, has traditionally looked like them, doesn't look like them anymore. They're just going to have to feel the same way black people have been feeling forever. So that's my opinion on it. But yeah, people are going to be mad. But like Donald said, like Disney's going to make the Little Mermaid again 20 years, 15 years from now, and she'll probably be white or Hispanic or Middle Eastern. And so life will go on.
Yeah, I think they're just trying to make a splash. I mean, I don't see the point in making a big deal about it. They're fictional characters, right? And I think people just look for reasons to be upset. I haven't really seen anybody really be upset about it. So I wonder, this is my conspiracy, I wonder if people have just been making it up. Because I honestly haven't heard anybody, and I like to think I surround myself with positive people. But the thing is, I'm in these Twitter streets pretty heavy, right? And I don't think I've seen anybody like say, "Oh, I don't agree with this. This is not my area." I feel like it's this made up thing, and then people just start running with it. Have you?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Wow. You seen it, Donald, or?
No, I haven't seen. Well, because then again, I'm not really on social media like that. But I heard that there was a trending thing, like not my Ariel trending. I didn't look into it because to me these things are by a bunch of losers. Like really, if you really care that much about if you care that much about Little Mermaid, not being white, like and then you put in the time to create a Twitter campaign about it, you obviously have nothing else going on in your life, right? Why do you why do you care that much? Yeah. So to me, I think a lot of times like the media likes to pretend like these things are bigger than they are, because the media again likes controversy and just likes to blow things up. But yeah, in the end, I think it's gonna be cool. People are only gonna care about if the story is believable, if they can connect to it, and that's all that's gonna matter in the end.
That's that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely a very small minority. It's just that with social media, a small minority can look like a large minority. Like
Yeah.
only seen like two people post that they were dissatisfied with it because of like, oh, her orange hair won't be natural, whatever they were saying. But
Orange hair.
and so like they were making up some dumb excuses, but it was like two people. And so I knew it was there, but that's like I got like 1,500 friends on Facebook, and like two of them made a comment. And so it's like it is a small minority, and there's probably other people that didn't comment that was probably heard about it, but it is the small group.
Mhm.
But these days, like a small minority has like a large voice because they have social media and they can connect with other dumb people like them all over the world.
Yeah.
and so
Right.
and so they can gang up, and so that's why it seems like it is a lot bigger than what it is, and because like your voice can be very big these days. Yeah.
Good point. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I wasn't sure if Donald had something to add to it, but I think that's like what we're starting to see, right? Like the small minority just has like because the media could just basically blow stuff out of proportion. So I think a lot of times it's just good for us to just step away from the media and just gather on information and go and things like yeah, like what does it matter? Like what Donald was saying, like and just go on about your lives. Like does it affect the movie in any sense, right? Um, now I know if the crab if he's gonna be Caucasian, if he's not gonna be a Jamaican, that's when I'm gonna be offended, right? And I'm gonna say that's not my Sebastian. I'm gonna start that. I'm gonna tell y'all right now. But
Well,
anyways,
it's like, and I think too is that, you just mentioned it. Like, I remember one time I read this article about something dumb, and and they're like, the reporter was like, yeah, but this thing created a backlash, and the person legit quoted three people who are upset at this, right? And I think that's what the media does, right? That like it's a small
yeah,
minority of people who, like I think it goes back to the whole Trump campaign thing, right? Where there are a lot of loud people on Twitter, and they make it seem like they all like millions deep. Just a bunch of people that are just really insignificant, and they they create all these ideas and make it seem like they're a huge majority. But most people who have things going on in their lives do not have time to be on there like that, right? Just like if you're busy, you're not gonna be wasting your time really worrying about who Disney's casting as their lead. I don't know. So I think that, yeah, I think you guys are right. That like I think the media again, because like the media only cares about making money. I think we forget that sometimes.
hmm
That what all they're trying to do is captivate your attention, and they do that
right,
usually by making you angry or afraid, because those two emotions are very strong and they can get you to move. So if they can kind of spark some controversy, so you're angry, or scare you with some tales, so you're afraid, they'll do that. And I think a lot of these like divisions that we think we have today, with like all these backlashes and people clapping back and all these things are just a tool that they use to kind of keep us engaged. But in the end, like most people are kind of have the same kind of mentality about these things. Most people, think it's a cool idea and will wait to see how it plays out. If now again, if it goes really deep into like a whole racial thing, then maybe people might have more comments about that. But if it's just a beautiful story about a mermaid and her family and the exact story that it was in Disney World, most people will not care, and the movie will do fine, make a bunch of money, sell overseas, and life goes on.
for sure. We're good. We're good points. So, if nothing else, we can move on to our last topic, Coco Golf. So, you two brought this to my attention. I just been doing some digging, not too much, just within the last few minutes before. That. I'm curious to know, like, what does this mean? Okay, I guess who wouldn't mind maybe sharing what happened? Because I mean, this is from what little I know. She's a 15-year-old girl, a black teenage girl who beat Serena Williams, and I
Venus.
believe the oh
Venus.
Venus.
She beat Venus. Yeah, she didn't
Oh,
beat Serena.
oh, okay.
She
Well,
didn't beat
that
Serena.
changes things. That changes things. But
Only slightly, man. Venus is still legit.
is she though?
Only slightly.
It's not
Yeah.
slightly. Not
No,
slightly.
dude.
No.
People need to realize Serena is like ridiculous, and
Yeah.
everybody else is good. So people
Yeah.
always think that like, yeah. So Venus is still highly ranked. She's just not
Yeah.
Serena. Serena is again like the god tennis player.
Right.
Mhm.
No, I get that. I mean, but that's like no, I have no good analogy, so I'll just come back to revisit that. But to go back to my point, like so, oh yeah, so Coco Golf beat Venus, and the tournament apparently still going on. So are we going? So we're going into Sunday. Is she going to the final, or is this the semifinal? What round are we going into?
No, I think they're going into the round of 16.
Oh, okay. I thought finals were usually in on
I think
Sunday, but
quarter. Is this not quarterfinals?
Is it quarter? I thought they were going to around the 16. Is it quarter?
Let me double check real quick.
No.
okay. So I'm curious to know what does this mean for the tennis landscape, if that makes sense, right? Uh-huh.
Well, one, her being so young is an accomplishment herself. Like she started literally playing professional tennis at 13 years old. Like having a 13-year-old daughter playing tennis professionally with grown women, like is significant on its own. And that only 2 years into playing, when you start at 13, you're already playing some of the top players in the world. Like I think that, and you're playing on the biggest stage, Wimbledon. So you're playing on the biggest stage. You're only 15 years old. You've only been doing this for 2 years professionally. Like this girl was selling Girl Scout cookies last week, and like now she's like playing Venus and has a chance to go up against Serena as she advances like past this next girl she goes against, and playing on the biggest stage in the whole entire world. Like at 15 years old, and so I felt like that. Is like super big in itself. And they even asked us Serena about her, and Serena was just like how proud and like how like jaw dropping it is, like someone that young to be on the biggest stage in the world and competing at a high level and the things that she's doing like at that age. Like this girl has a chance to win Wimbledon at like 15 years old, like the biggest stage
Yeah.
in the world. 15-year-old girl, like this girl hasn't gone through puberty yet. It's like already doing these things. So I think that was like the big thing. And then of course, her being African American was also like big as well because we're not represented as much in the sport as other races.
Yeah, I think like I think the biggest thing Coco is just phenomenal. Again, she's like a prodigy, youngest person to play Wimbledon ever. I think
Ever, yeah.
no matter the gender or ethnicity. So I think that is like incredibly. I mean, and just to confirm, you are right, Kelly. The next game is a round of 16. Um, but yeah, so the fact that she's even gone this far, is just phenomenal. And to me, I think is a story of like to quote Kevin Garnett, anything is possible. All right, this girl just recently started playing and she's just amazing. All right, I think that's a story that like kids can look at this and be like, hey, like she really isn't any different from you, whoever you are, because if you listen to people talk, this girl shouldn't have gone that far because she's black, she's a woman, she's got two things going against her, kind of like the beliefs that we have about race and success in this country, um, and gender and success. But in the end, like all she knows is she's 15 and she plays tennis really well, and she's gonna play as hard as she can and go far. So I think it's really good for children or people anywhere. Just look at that and just be inspired by it. Like it's just, I mean, just amazing. Even if she loses in the next round, what she's accomplished so far is still amazing. Um, so I think that's the biggest story. Of course, I'm gonna show my daughter this and all these things. So it's like, again, like it's just, I mean, you won't see this again, kind of thing, right? Like just kind of someone so young to make such a immediate impact. All of Wimbledon is rooting for her, and she's not even British. Like, that's how
Right.
big she is, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, playing across country, 15 years old. And like she's just started playing, so she's made $75,000 in prize money. And that's not even including endorsements or other stuff that she's made. And she started at 13 years old and became the youngest, like
That's
Donald said, the
crazy.
youngest ever. Like 15 years old, like
That's crazy.
literally selling Girl Scout cookies last week, and now she's like the prize money in Wimbledon is probably huge. I don't know how much the pot is, but it's definitely probably close to $1 million. So she's made it to around the 16. So and she's yeah. So what she's doing is crazy, and she's record breaking on her own. So I think the future of tennis is definitely black when it comes to female. Because the rising stars, Steven, she was ranked number 3. She got eliminated today, but she was ranked number 3 in the tournament. And so there's definitely a lot of black female stars, right? With Naomi, Serena's still going hard, and she said she wants to go hard for a lot longer. Venus is still playing, and just more and more every single day. It seems like every year. Like last year was Naomi's year, and Naomi's still playing, and of course, and with Coco Gauff this year, it's just like every year black people are progressing in this sport. And it's so like her parents were actually dedicated towards her. So they were living in Georgia. They were originally from Delray, Florida, but then they didn't see like her career in tennis moving forward in Georgia, so they moved back to Delray, Florida, just so that she could play tennis and be at a more competitive level. And so like her parents really believed in her ability from the time she was 12 years old.
And I think it's just like, again, to get on Kelly's point about the future of tennis being, and that's like the crazy thing, right? Because the best American tennis players are black, right? Which is both male and female, right? Because there are like hardly no good male American tennis players. And then in the top 10 of tennis players, like 3 of them are black. So in the top 10, you have like Naomi Osaka, Stevens, and Williams. All right, so it's like in the end, which is like crazy if you think about the fact that there aren't that many black people that play tennis. Right, so to me, I think this tells a bigger story about myths, right? That like, oh, black people can't play certain sports because, like the idea was that like tennis was, like a rich man's sport, or that golf is pretty much run by Tiger Woods, who hasn't been good for years, yet he's still the biggest draw in golf, right? That like all these things is just like, dude, there's no sport you can play except hockey. I think that could be an exception, but other than that, there's like all these things are all just myths, man. Like not like now this stuff is true. Like you can do whatever you want to do. It doesn't matter whether it's the sport is played in swanky, club, sports clubs, or like it's like canoeing or rowing or something random that like you've been programmed or socialized to believe that you don't belong there. Like there are no limits, man, except the ones you make for yourself. Like just again, like the top 10 players, 3 of them are black in a sport that most black people don't play. So I think that's crazy.
Mm-hmm. And they all started with their father coaching them, teaching them play tennis, which is another big thing. Like black fathers, like all 3 of them, their dad was their first coach. Coco Gauff, her dad is her coach right now. Serena Williams and Venus Williams, both their dads started off as their coach. And so even thinking,
like her dad is her coach, and I guarantee you that this dude isn't like some trained professional tennis player. So think of how much better she can get. Sorry,
no, he didn't play tennis at all. He's actually a college basketball player.
Okay, yeah. So think about how good, eventually she'll probably get a different coach as she progresses. Think about how much better she can get when she actually has like a professional coach or something like. I think that's just wild. This girl is just like a revelation.
I know she got a basketball coach that taught her how to play tennis, and now she's like gonna be playing against the best people in the world, and she's breaking record. That's the youngest to ever do it at Wimbledon. So I think it's definitely a great story. So yeah, people are rooting for her, and we'll see how far she can go.
So do we put our girls in tennis then? I mean, because the sports that girls can typically go into that are pretty popular are like soccer, basketball, track, and tennis. If you were to pick any of those sports, I mean, maybe I'm missing something, swimming, maybe, but I feel like that's only big during the Olympics, really. I mean, what sport would you put your girls in?
I'll do tennis because one, they can start earning a bag really early.
Yeah, right.
So that's important to me. Like this girl at 13 years old, just in 2 years, she's made $80K in prize money. That's just prize money. That's not even like endorsements or anything else. That's just off of prize money. She's made $80K. And so when your teenage daughter is bringing in averaging $40K a year, it's pretty. It's pretty. I think it's a pretty good sign. Like just starting off, and she's gonna make more money this year because she's making it to around a 16. So, yeah.
And she's definitely gonna get like a bigger endorsement, like Nike or Adidas are probably gonna be like chomping at the bits to try and sign her. So she's actually So the money's definitely going up from here. I think for me, if in terms of if I want financial success, definitely tennis, gymnastics, track. Because if you do gymnastics, even though the Olympics happens every 4 years, like everyone watches the Olympics. So tennis, the Olympics. So tennis, gymnastics, track, swimming, maybe. I think those are the best. In terms of just like, for girls, I think tennis, track, gymnastics, swimming,
But you have to
and
pick
then golf
one
for college. If I have to pick one of those, I think I'll do gymnastics.
Really?
Yeah, because like, I like tennis and we'll put her in it, but I just think that there's just a lot more opportunity with gymnastics because like
I think.
Sorry, is it Kelly?
No, I was gonna say gymnastics. I would say it's harder just because you sometimes have to have the right body for it. Especially smaller women are more successful the smaller they are, and so like your daughter may not have that body. She may not be like the small, and so I feel like tennis is more like we've seen a wide range of bodies, and so I feel like it's something that you like would be more. I would say like it's not easier to get into. I would never call it tennis easy, but it's something all your daughters can do. Like even Naomi, like her older sister, people don't realize she has an older sister that plays professional as well. She's just not as good as Naomi, but she plays professional tennis as well. She's like a year, 2 years older than her. And so he got both of them in. And so it's something that all your daughters can do, and all your daughters can play professional, and all of them can make money, no matter what body type they have.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That changes your answer then, Donald? Because you what? Were you 6'1" or something, right? So your daughter's
but Dalen is 5 foot tall. So like, if Amelia takes Dalen's structure, then I think no, really though. If Amelia takes Dalen, because the way Dalen is built, I think it would be great for gymnastics. It's just very like strong legs.
Well, who was the black chick who won who got pretty popular? Gabby? No, not Gabby. It was somebody else.
Well, Gabby got popular too, but
no, but the most recent one though.
The much better one.
Yeah, right.
So she's also ridiculous.
Yeah, well, she's like 4'11", dude.
Yeah,
like 4'10". That's like, man, that's like.
It is.
I don't know.
Gabby is the one that's 4'11".
Yeah, she's been relevant for a minute, but like she has like people. There's a lot of people who don't like her.
I forgot what it is. Her was name.
Simone Biles.
Simone.
Yes, Simone Biles. Yes.
Everyone loves Simone, dude.
Yeah, everybody loves Simone. Like something about Gabby like just turns people off, but she's really good too. But like Simone like almost swept all of her events, right?
Well, but I think that's because Simone is just like extraordinarily good. Like she's just been winning all her gold, like all the world championships. She wins all the gold. Right. Like Simone is like she's just again. There's there are MCs and there are God MCs. Simone is just a goddess. She's just like off the charts.
Right. So Michael Phelps, right?
Michael
Phelps.
Exactly. Yeah. The perfect body for it. There's the perfect body for it.
Right. So for me, I'll make it super quick. For me, I think I want to do track just because when it's like a men alternate, I mean, this is me being like maybe this is me being sexist. I don't know, but when I know that there's like a better alternative to watch, so like men's basketball is always better than women's basketball. Men's tennis typically is better, at least to me. To me, right?
Okay.
I'll just speak for myself, right? Because if I'd much rather see Nadal against Federer or any of the like top guys. Like I don't
Watch
even know how to
Serena
pronounce it.
play. Really? Wow,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
crazy. That's
I
crazy.
mean, because yeah, no, I mean, like, I've no, yeah, Serena doesn't do it for me anymore, man. I mean, like, like, because the thing is, like, if Federer, like, who is her rival, right?
I'll
She
say
doesn't.
this, man. I'll
Mhm,
say this is probably your perspective because I think this is not widely accepted. Like when Serena came here for the U.S. Open, it was all
mhm.
about her. Like everything
No, no,
was
no, I
about
agree.
Serena. So I
Right.
think, so okay, yeah, sorry, I'll let you
No,
speak.
no,
Yeah,
that,
from your, but
that,
I,
yeah,
yeah,
that's. Mhm.
no, because
That's
I
that's just
think
more
you're right.
Serena, right?
Yeah,
Right. But for the most part, I mean, my daughter's not gonna be Serena, right? But the thing is, for like there's Sloane Stevens, who was like who caught fire for a bit, and then there was the other Naomi chick who caught fire for a bit. But I wasn't watching their matches after that. It was just because they played Serena, and then it's like, hey, Serena might lose. I was like, oh, okay, let me turn this on, see what
so
happens.
I'll ask you
Hmm.
though, because I just want to push a little bit. Other than
Hmm.
Nadal and Federer and maybe Djokovic, who else do you know in male tennis?
Oh, there was like Andy Murray for a little minute.
Yeah,
There was right, and then there was oh. It's usually like the foreigners,
yeah, but no
right?
one really knows them, dude. That's the thing. Like in the
Right.
end, but when it comes to women's tennis,
Hmm.
everyone knows Coco Gauff right now, right? And like everyone
Yeah,
knows Naomi
right,
Osaka,
right.
right? So I think that like tennis is
So
the rare thing that I think there's actually parity between male and female. There's like no, there's
right.
I don't, I agree with you that in some
Hmm.
sports the male alternative might seem
The male
better.
alternative is better.
Well,
Hmm.
it might seem better, but like
Yeah, and I think okay. Uh-huh. Well, I was just thinking like, and that's like something that the family could get behind, right? As far as like track, in my opinion, like everybody can run, right? I mean, obviously, like not everybody's Olympic sprinters, but I just think it's like something that everybody can get on board with. It's like a family event. Like I feel like basketball is the same way, but watching women's basketball is just like it doesn't do it for me at all, dude. So couldn't do that. Gymnastics, my daughter more than likely will not have the body type. I can't swim, so that's not happening as far as the team getting on board. I need to learn how to swim, but I say that every year, but it never happens.
I said that
So
every
I
year,
think
dude.
black people, well, Kelly can swim, right?
Yeah, I
Black
could
people.
see him.
Yeah, once black people can swim, man, the game is over, man. The game is over. We're
Oh, did
taking
you watch
over
the
all the
Olympics?
sports.
Sorry, just on that side note. There was a
Uh-huh.
black swimmer who
Yeah.
did some amazing thing. I forgot her name, but anyway, yeah.
Yeah, no, we coming up. We're just not there yet. Give us another generation or two. We'll have it on lock. But but yeah, I think that's it. I mean, we could wrap up. We've been in an hour deep. I think we discussed some good topics. The Kawhi discussion was riveting. Westbrook, according to my sources, is going to the Knicks for sure. What else? I think that's about it. Coco Golf and Black Ariel. And I think UFC is going on right now. I don't think there's been a winner yet. I've been refreshing my
Well,
timeline.
Nunes beat
Yeah,
Holmes.
yeah, yeah. She locked her out pretty
Yeah,
cold first round.
That's
oh,
crazy.
she
Like
knocked
Holmes,
her out first round. Mm.
your
Yeah,
Holmes has just been like she
yeah.
has she has not been impressive ever since
Well,
she
well, the thing
destroyed
is,
Rouse's career.
well, Rousey was on the downhill. Like as soon as she got big, then she's like she wasn't as hungry. And then this is a topic for another time. But I find that once you achieve the peak of your career, you start doing these other gigs, and you're not as hungry. I mean, we're seeing that with what's his name? What's the fighter McGregor, right? Like I
Conor
mean,
LeBron.
he's on,
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, like now he's got like all these endorsements with like alcohol and all these other deals. And then when he came back, he was in like he just got like mollywhopped by this other dude, right? So the thing is, I mean,
Khabib is amazing, man.
Lead.
Dude.
right. I agree. I agree. But things like all these people are amazing, man. Like I mean, they're like the thing is they're always hungry. The thing is, I think once it's impressive. I mean, I think it goes to when you talk about LeBron. Like man, he was at the peak of his career, and the thing is, he still made it to 8 straight finals. And we could talk about other players too. Tom Brady, like he's won like several championships. He's worth hundreds of millions. His wife is worth hundreds of millions, right? But like he still goes after it. I think that's something that we don't appreciate enough is when you have sustained greatness, when you reach the peak and you keep going, right? But anyways, I think that would be a topic for another time. As far as like to wrap this up, who do you all have between Jones and I don't even know who my man's is fighting, but who do y'all have?
Santos.
Yeah,
Santos. I got Jones definitely.
yeah. I have Knox Jones. I am no longer a fan, so I hope he gets beat.
You hope he gets beat, but who's
Yeah.
gonna win?
He's the GOAT,
Actually, I
though.
think
He's the GOAT, though.
yeah,
There's no
yeah, I
one
think
better
Jones
than
can win.
him.
Yeah, but in the end, when you've like tested positive for not only the cocaine but for the PEDs, like to me, like once you have one positive
He
PED
was
test,
thinking Viagra. He was thinking Viagra.
sure,
Uh,
sure, I know, yeah.
He was
Once you test
thinking
positive
Viagra.
once, man, I'm done. No, because I love Jones, man. Like really, he was my favorite player. Player. My favorite fighter was Jones, and Mighty Mouse. I love those guys. And then, but then Jones just kept messing up, and it was just kind of hard to keep, you know, rooting for this guy. It's like it seems like he just didn't care as much as I did. But I don't know. But I think Jones. But I think, yeah. But I think Jones is gonna win.
yeah,
He's been consistent for a long time winning. Like I don't think anybody's been winning as long as he has. But yeah, if it wasn't for his problems, like because he missed out on years because of like the drug problems. But yeah, he definitely could have fought a lot more. But yeah, I think he's gonna win. Nunez is just like a monster. She just destroys people. That was no surprise she'd be home, but yeah. They're gonna kind of get a man to beat her.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think Jones is winning that fight.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, cool, man. Well, I'm sure we're gonna have some other let's go down this next week.
What's your pick?
Oh, Jones. Yeah, that's like no question. I mean, like, yeah, I feel like I'm off the bandwagon as well. I keep giving the guy a chance, but I just don't feel like he's the best role model. I mean, I don't know. I didn't know, like, supposedly it was Viagra. I mean, my man's is, like, in his late 20s, early 30s. I don't know if he can lose it.
Right.
That's soon,
come
man.
on, bro.
It's like those guys who say they tested positive for marijuana, and they're like, oh, no, it was just something else. I'm like, yeah, man, yeah.
I ate a poppy seed brownie.
Right. Right.
Cupcake or whatever it was, yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's always something, man. So, but no, I have Jones winning. It'd be cool to see some parity in the UFC, but it's always the same people, man. It's always like, well, not always, but it was McGregor for a little minute. Now I guess it's gonna be Khabib, and it looks like him and Diaz almost getting into it.
Jeff, about the whole people losing motivation. I will say this: it is kind of hard to go get punched in the face when you have $40 million,
I agree.
Or however much you made. Dude, that's tough.
No, I agree. No, that's the same thing. That's what happened. I guess that's my point with what's the chick's name that we talked about? Holly Holm said knocked out. Rousey, yeah. Like once Rousey was like she was like on WWE. She started getting in movies. She started getting like model gigs, and she just wasn't as hungry. And then she got knocked out by Holmes. Then she got knocked out by Nunez, and I think she may have got knocked out one more time, where she just retired after that. Now she's just doing WWE stuff.
Yeah,
but
retired after that, yeah.
Right. So that's what I'm saying is like, I mean, and I think same thing could be said of life. It's like once you reach the peak, when you become like the I don't know, like the CEO or the manager or whatever, are you still hungry? Are you still going? One of my favorite lines was from Nas's most recent album when he says he painted the inside of the interior of his car like a taxi to make it seem like he's still struggling, so he never loses that hunger. And I think if you can stay hungry, that's like that's a skill set of its own. But I think that's why I respect LeBron as much as I do, because at any point he could say, you know what, I've got my rings, I've got these championships, I got a great family. Like, no, he's still like striving for that GOAT status. But anyways, I think that was good.
Yep.
Anything else you guys wanted to touch on before we ended?
I think that's solid. Thanks for helping me understand that Nas lyric. I thought he meant he was riding around in taxi still. I didn't understand that he painted the inside of his car as a taxi. Yeah. I didn't understand. Like, well, what does he mean? Like, why do I ride in a taxi? Okay.
Yeah, man.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
All right.